Welcome everyone. This is Beyond the Hype. This is my preview slash episode one of what I'll be doing for this YouTube channel. Um, Basically, kind of give you a bit of background information about me, what I want to talk about this channel, and like just a couple topics I just want to kind of run through because of it. Um, Kind of the biggest, I guess you could say, cornerstone of kind of this channel is just I want to talk about tech. I want to talk about tech surrounding computers, about consoles, about other stuff, and I've had years of just playing around with the smallest tech around iPods, Switches, DSs. Back in the day, I was a huge Xbox and PS2 person. Um, but now I feel like there's a lot more to talk about these things. Like there's more than just what everyone kind of sees around there. Like some people kind of take a deep dive into it, which is pretty cool. But I think there's a lot more that I think goes around the industry, especially gaming wise. Gaming will probably be my main, bread and butter. But like, there's a lot more I think that people kind of miss out from these. And my hope is, with this channel, I just want to shoot the shit. I want to kind of go through all the stuff that happens around and kind of post some questions a bit and really kind of get the gears turning of like what is the outlook for gaming, what's really kind of going on beyond you know even medium layer, we're not talking basic layer like like console fanboy stuff, like even the medium layer stuff where people are like, well, we could kind of deduce this and that, but like I feel like there's a lot more in between that. What's going on with, again, not just console, but PC gaming, a lot of tech industries, Microsoft and Google, all of that stuff. And, as someone who's, had a decade's worth of just listening to news and hardware and just like wanting to learn more about all of this. I just feel like for me, this feels like the type of thing I want to center part of my time with. And this is kind of my best, I would say, like 50-50 best way to spend my time on this is, throwing these videos out kind of in this weird format. I'm going to try to do a lot more, but kind of with my time that I have and also just the availability, just because kind of have to be flexible. I have a German Shepherd that just kind of leads me around through my day, so I kind of have to take everything one step at a time. So hopefully, you have some time. I wanted these to be semi medium more than just, more than 10 minutes, but not like, an entire hour ish. But that's kind of my hope is that you throw it on the background, kind of give a listen to it, and just see where it goes. See if you like my hot takes, don't like my hot takes. Some of them might be hot takes, some of them might be the medium rare takes. I always love to fucking just take a stab and get a reaction out of everyone. That's always been my favorite thing. Is I love playing the devil's advocate to everything, even if it's like horrendous. I love it just because I'm like, you know, gets a reaction. It's more than the norm. The norm to me just feels so boring. But like, you know, once you get to the obscure stuff, it's fun. It's fun. It's more than just falling in line. It's like you know what's the result of the end of it? It's like, oh yeah, you might be completely in the wrong, but hey, at the end of the day, it's better than just sticking in one space. But yeah, that's kind of just the quick kind of rundown of like what I am. I'll just refer myself as Chico C for right now. Uh, Anonymity is just kind of like bullshit in my sense. Real name, someday I'll fucking accidentally name drop it, but just at this point, nickname's good enough. But I guess that's kind of the big thing where it's just like fucking everyone knows your identity at this point. Especially you're in my age where like you've may had you may had, Facebook accounts linked to you, fucking Twitter. You make so many accounts early on, and then now you're just like, oh, now I need to care about security. At this point, your identity will go as far as what you think matters to you. But at this point, you kind of have to kind of know that someone's watching you at some point. But anywho, long-winded deciding. I put down a couple of topics I desperately been wanting to talk about before the real steam comes along about that. And oh boy, my first topic I just want to sink my teeth into is PC gaming. Now, full discretion, I've only been into PC gaming for the last 2-3 years. You know, I've gone into kind of the golden era of when everything was the biggest thing ever. I did end up buying or building like my own PC just because resources then was kind of scarce and I was in school, so I was like very much a person where I was like I want to get the best value as best as I can. It took a bunch of time, way more time than anyone does for researching, or maybe it was. I ended up getting a decent PC. It was a Ryzen 5 3600, best, budget, semi budget CPU. And then I ended up getting a RTX 2060 KO edition, which at that time I thought, okay, served pretty well for 1080p. I didn't know, and I just knew this week, that it's more competitive to the next level up, just because I didn't know about that GPU that much, but comparatively, it actually performed very well. So uh, I obviously upgraded that. I was pining for a 2070 Super. I finally got it, and I got it explicitly a white version just so that it would match my kind of whole PC outlook because, year one, you're just getting the main parts and essentials. You know, you're getting yourself the cheap speakers that you could use. You're making do with the crappy mouse and keyboard that it gets you, and you're just kind of running through it, man. You're dealing with whatever you give you, and thankfully for me, I got a decent bag for everything. I got a monitor for like $100, which was actually a pretty good 1080p 165 monitor that I'm like pretty good. And then on top of that, it came with two sticks, 8 gigabytes dual RAM. It came with the OK storage. Obviously, I put more in it. It came with a decent power supply. It came with a 500 watts. I ended up upgrading that just because, little to my knowledge, I was very keen on getting that GPU upgrade within like the first 6 months, and pandemic happened, so that delayed it a long time. But I'm kind of ready for it, or am I? Or am I? Just because the first big thing with PCs, especially now that we're coming to the newest series of AMD and what was it? AMD and Nvidia. Sorry, the 4000s and 7000s, which I'll call them the fourth gen of this new era, because somehow we're just labeling it as fourth gen, even though they've been here for decades at this point. But I guess whenever Nvidia started their 10,000 series, we're kind of counting that as their fourth gen. Uh, we're playing the same book as Microsoft does, where they're like, oh, Xbox One after the third Xbox. It's weird, but we're running through it. We're running through it, and basically, with the new upcoming generation, something I've talked to a couple people about, and I've heard couple people talk about. You always hear these, the rumors and leaks, and then you have your tech people talk about like, oh my goodness, these things are running on specifically the power wattage, which is like at least at the high end schedule. It's gonna be the lower end is at least 450 watts. That's just kind of like the base wattage that they're kind of throwing it around. It could be even more than that. So, um, a lot of these tech guys, you see JTech, Lions Tech, there's a bunch of the tech people. They're just kind of astonished at this, but they're excited and just kind of head first into it, which I get it. They're all enthusiasts. They kind of run through it without like thinking too much about like consequences or anything like that. Which it's PC gaming. It's all crapshoot. It shouldn't matter at the end of the day like what type of wattage you're using. It should be just like a whole, it's whatever. It's like you use what you use. It's whatever. And personally, I don't care what type of PC wattage I do, or how powerful my gaming PC is. It needs to have the 16 core CPU running 200 watts and my GPU running 600, 800 watts. You know, just for that 4K, which I have problems with 4K, but we'll when that we will hit that tree when we do, but not the biggest person on that. But the one reason I wanted to point out about these high wattages was because while I don't care, and maybe the majority of the gaming community does not care, the prick in everyone's spine, which is California, does. And they've done this already earlier this year with canning a bunch of the pre-builts and not allowing them to go through. That's mostly because it's Alienware pre-builts and some of the other messy ones like Dell that just make just horrendous ass pre-builts. Like the god awful trash tier, like you throw on the fucking side of the waste after a year. Like they're just terrible pre-builts. I didn't get mine. I got it from like a third party. But it's just their pre-builts are just trash, undeniable. So at that point, everyone was like, it's whatever. Of course, we poke jokes about it. We're like, oh, they're banning PCs. But the reason why they might care a lot more is specifically kind of going this new era where we're just prepping for energy consumption and just smart energy conserving and just that type of deal where it's just like, you know, these states are kind of already kind of throttled by the energy usage they're using. They're and this is going to geopolitical stuff, so I'm kind of stepping by that. But I'm just kind of going by the main antithesis that Cali and a bunch of other states are going through an energy crisis, and so they're looking to cut some fat. And other than cutting the fat that they should be cutting, again, geopolitical stuff beside, they trim bullshit fat. And oh my, is PC gaming just a lot of bullshit fat that they love cutting. They've done it once already, and I completely see a scenario where they'll just cut it again. They're just going to take a nice little slice from it, and they can easily see this as a thing where it's like, why are these, why is these tech, taking tons of power to fucking run through? Are they even being used for anything like this? And again, you can link this to they can link it to BS of crypto mining, even though crypto mining is all but almost through with the regulation and just the changing of how some of the crypto is being earned. But they'll find some BS way, and so I just feel like PC gaming right now is heading to this thing where like they're kind of running through without realizing that they have a target right on their back. And I'm just kind of like looking around and I'm like, is anyone seeing this? Is anyone seeing this? Is anyone seeing this huge target that we've somehow set upon ourselves and are, just kind of open for targeting? Like, you know, it's that kind of thing where it's like it's crazy, but it's like it's not impossible that this could happen, and it's just something to think about, guys. So I'm not trying to be like grilling through this, but I'm just I'm saying that we could be on to some discussion about regulation soon enough, and I know a lot of people aren't going to be happy about this, and I completely understand. I think, uh, you know, less government trying to fondle with especially our stuff and what we want to do at our house. That's always the type of thing. But again, it's that type of thing where it's like I won't be surprised if it does happen. So it's kind of crazy, but that's kind of like my biggest thing I wanted to kind of get through is my first topic is like, hey, I feel like a lot of people are enthusiastic about some type of things, which is great. It's always amazing. But I also feel like, given the environment around, and specifically with these new GPUs, because we're no longer, trying to minimize or maximize performance with the little amount of power consumption. We're past that point. We're past the Moore's law. Um, we're just, you know, pushing more power for performance at this point. We're no longer in the idea of safety. We're in that F1 type of motorsport where we're just guzzle as much gas as we can. And we're just hitting that thing at 200 plus miles per hour. Just go. And again, that's fine, but I feel like it's going to lead to more problems soon enough, more unforeseen problems that I believe some of these people, haven't realized yet. Which again, uh, it's been an enthusiastic thing. I think the most we've had to worry about is scalpers and just the type of environment it is, regulations, all of that. But I feel like this is going to hit a lot more. I think this is going to hit a lot more. I think it's going to be something that we're all going to have to think about. So yeah, just gonna take a quick drink. All right, so going on to my next talking point that I want to get through today. And I want to touch on consoles a bit. Um, and the one I wanted to get to next was PlayStation. And kind of, small backstory about my history with PlayStation. I had a PS2, still have it. It's a bit borked right now, but, we have another working one, so I kind of just let it and let live. As long as my NBA Street Volume 2 is fine. That's all I care about, That game is like that and Battlefield 2 or Battlefront 2, as long as those two work, I'm letting let live. And then I also had a PS4 for a couple years. Mostly got it for Spider-Man and play a couple games with my cousins. But uh, as soon as I wanted to really cut down the fat in my room because I really wanted to like kind of get rid of a lot of stuff. I just wanted to shrink it down for the PC and just kind of how I wanted to set stuff up. So basically, I was just like, didn't really want to play too many PS4 games. And at that time, I was like, I'll get it again when Spider Man 2 comes out in some odd years. Plus, my roommate had a PS4. So I was kind of just at that point where I was like, I'm fine letting this go. And then with more games going cross platform, it was just that type of idea that I was like, I didn't need to kind of invest too much on this. So it's whatever. So I ended up, selling it away. Um, but yeah, again, short but long story about my PlayStation. And kind of the big thing I wanted to talk about it, which going beyond kind of the grain of what everyone talks about, um, because they are planned for at least one or two releases this year. Uh, Kind of take your pick if it's either going to be God of War, Ragnarok, or Last of Us 2 remake. I think that one's a little bit more probable. Um, Ragnarok, I could kind of see getting delayed until next year again. I think PlayStation doesn't have a problem with pushing it to next year, but it might be this end of this year. But I'm betting more 2023 just because we're at what the fifth month of this year. Uh, you kind of want to do marketing soon for that, just so that you can get that out there. It's your premium title, um, but I think the reason they're delaying it, or they might be having the incentive of delaying it, is because it is their big title, and they don't want to give it away if they don't have enough consoles. And this is where I feel like people kind of miss the boat. with how PlayStation is kind of riding this through this generation, because I feel like PlayStation is in a situation where they know they can sell consoles. They know that people will buy the PS5, but they don't have enough of them out. And that's kind of killing them. And I feel like, projections are they're going to sell less than 40 mil by the end of the year, might be even less depending on inflation, storage, just getting parts, all of that. Uh, but they're set to have less than 40, and I think they were planning on at least hitting 50 by year two. Um, and so they're kind of getting crushed right now, and they're like, what do we do? Like they're like, well, we're selling our console still, but it's like, is it enough where it's like we could get one of these games to sell more than 10% of the entire, or to match 10% of the entire console supply? And the reason I say this is because while a lot of people will praise PlayStation first party titles, they're always pretty good. I'm not gonna try to blast as much as most people will. I will say I have, eh, it's hit or miss. I think they have a lot of games, but they also play all the same. So it's like I can't say it's like the bread factory. You know what you're getting at the end of the day. You're getting bread. It's not bad. It's not excellent. They might have the cinnamon toast ones, the Ghost of Tsushima. It's a little bit sweeter. It's a little bit sweeter than the last ones, but it's not like Cinnabon, like the whole Cinnabon experience. Oof, that's a whole different experience from regular bread. But basically, I think what they're doing is they're basically trying to push this back until they feel like they have enough sales where they can at least hit more than 10% adoption rate for PlayStation 5 year users, because I think that's been kind of the toughest core for them. Is that if you look at the actual sales, if you look at the sales back to back to back of a lot of first party titles, they're selling well, but they rarely break the 10% adoption rate. The only ones that have been able to is God of War 2018 and Spider-Man. Spider-Man is, I would say, the biggest exception of all of them, because Spider-Man fucking killed it. They fucking killed it. The only other game that has the better retention rate out of Spider-Man are Nintendo games. And that's not a slight. That's pretty impressive. Spider-Man, the original 2018 release, was it 2018? Oh man, that's gotta be crazy. I want to check before I really confirm this. Um, Let me see. Oh, all right. You know what? It's not working. Like I said, this will either be on par or just kind of crazy. Is it 2018? Yeah, it came out in 2018. Wow, that's crazy. All right. Well, so it came out 2018, but again, its sales was like a 1 in 4 or 1 in 3. So, that type of adoption rate was crazy. You're able to every 4 PS4s you had a PlayStation on it. Yeah, and again, people will say, yeah, but they bundled it like a year afterwards. But I have to also intrude and say that was the adoption rate at that moment and throughout that year. So they didn't really had a bundle. Like people were gonna buy it anyway. I think more or less bundling kind of hurt their secondary sales. They could have thrown in another, first party, whatever it is, and people will still be like, "All right, I have the console. I still need to go get Spider-Man PS4." Like that's how amazing and bonkers that sale was. Um, so it's incredible, but it's also that type of thing where like I kind of had to push through where it's like it's a rarity for PlayStation, and so I think for them, going off 10%, they want to sell at least a bit more than maybe let's say 5 million copies, and I feel like right now, even with their dedicated fan base, I feel like they're looking at it, they're like I don't think we'll be able to hit it right now, and I think they're kind of tempting the waters of like either releasing it at the end of this year or next year, kind of seeing, not determine it by is it done, is it finished, or by, you know, where the sales are. I think that's going to be more important for them. And so, again, something to kind of ponder and think about, because, for them, uh, these two things will matter a lot more. They're not in that kind of free flow state. They've made these huge investments. They kind of have to make sure that they work. And especially with the development time. And I could go more along like this later on, but I just feel like one of the things that's holding Sony back is the relentless lengths that they're taking dev time for. And again, they make quality games, they make finished games, but I think what's killing them is just kind of some aspects that take longer, and it's holding them back from bringing in more games. Because again, while you could say, "Oh, Herbert, like they need it for the quality of the games," I'm like, Nintendo does the same thing, and they're knocking shit every single uh, thing every 3 months. And you might get mad and say, "Oh, but it's a different platform, different graphics. They're doing something easier." But even still, come on, guys. Like, look at Nintendo. They're releasing a premium exclusive. I'm not talking about no indie or small thing. They're sending out premium exclusives every 3 months. And you might think, "Oh, no, that's crazy." No, go back. They have something planned for every part of the season. It's crazy. It's something that no one wants to kind of reveal, but they have something slotted up every single 3 months. Even during the pandemic, it was maybe one or every 6 months, but they had something ready to go. And as kind of confirmed by the way they're developing this year and how they're settling it up for the end of the year for their sales, they had stuff in the back burner just kind of sitting there. It's like, yeah, it's done. It's on the heater. It's all good to go. But you know what? Just go hold on to it. Hold on to it until we need it. It's crazy, but it's that type of deal where it's like the way they did their partnership or something like that. They're knocking it off the park. It's incredible. Of course, there's always digressions. There's cons always about Switch, but it's just that's crazy. Every 3 months they got a new game ready to go. It's crazy. Um, Now, kind of to the final point I want to get to, because I've talked about a little bit everyone except for Xbox, and boy oh boy, this one is just kind of a little bit more about Xbox, but a little bit more about the whole industry, because I feel like the problems that Xbox is having and what everyone's talking about, it's getting touched upon, but we're really it's kind of seeping through every other industry. Like you're seeing the man getting infected with the virus and going through all the symptoms, while everyone else is in shock, but also slowly coughing a bit. It's kind of crazy. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna take another drink. But yeah, so again, just talk a little bit about my history with Xbox. I wasn't an Xbox fan, but I was a Halo fan. I didn't have the Xbox One, but I played Halo, and I knew it was something special and something I desperately wanted to play. Uh, you know, I played Halo Combat Evolved in a sleepover to next door neighbor's house. Loved it to death, and I just wanted to play more of it. And so, yeah, no, waited a couple years, had the PS2 first, amazing system. Had the Xbox 360, obviously, the golden era of modern warfare games and just shooting games and Halo. That I would say, if nothing else, Xbox 360 was kind of that era where it was like a cheap console and you played the multiplayer games with your friends, and it was the greatest of times, and it was just nothing but just amazing, man. Some people will say, oh, it didn't have that many first party at the end, but it was named as the multiplayer center. You're not getting a PS3 to play multiplayer games. You're getting an Xbox 360. You're playing through everything. It was a fantastic time. Xbox One, we already know about it. Crapshoot. I bought it. I dealt through it, but you know, didn't have what everyone wanted. Uh, Even for the Master Chief Edition, which even now for me it's the premium thing that I play most of the time. I love playing Master Chief Edition, but can't hold it back. It was a mess, and the entire section was a mess. And if we're going off by the upcoming delays, it's still not cleaned up yet. But a lot of it, I will say, there's a lot of questions to be asked because of this. There's a lot of questions, and I feel like Microsoft don't know this answer. The video game industry don't know this answer. It's hard. It's hard because you could say, oh, this is a flop of management. Like this is a flop on, poor management, just poor time consuming for game development and stuff like that. But that's not the case. We're not the Phoenix Suns here. We're not running through and then just completely collapsing because we're just always ingrained with badness. Um, because let's not forget, Xbox bought Bethesda no less than 2 years ago, and so it's tough to say that it's like, oh, this is on Microsoft. They were given this platter. They were given Starfield. They were given this platter. So it's tough for us to really gun at them for this because Starfield is a Bethesda product, and Redfall is a Bethesda product, and so it's tough to really kind of run at them of this and be like, oh, it's their fault. It's like, are you sure about that? Because it seems to me that it's like Starfield was probably a very ambitious project that they really wanted to get done, but it's just circumstances has just kept pushing it back, and it's this type of thing where it's like one part, yeah, the pandemic probably had to do something with it. Got pushed it back a bit more. We're hoping, okay, 2022, we got this now. Um, but now we're in the worker fallout stage, and this kind of more of my questioning where I'm like, okay, how ingrained was crunch? And while most people will, and there have been reports that Bethesda doesn't really crunch the workers, but at this point, I feel like every industry does, every game center, every plot or whole of if we knew Naughty Dog crunched their workers, we knew that Halo crunched their workers, we knew every place crunched their workers. So let's not try to fucking lay this down like, oh, it's a clean and every place is clean. No, every place is dirty. The fact is, how ingrained was those crimes? How bad were those black spots in the floor? Because let's be real here, if people don't want to come back to work, or if there's low people working there, and it's because of these type of going through these years of crunch, it's like, yeah, how fucking reliant were you guys on this? Games take twice as long now to get release. Even a AAA game, quadruple game, or we're looking at a time span of maybe 4 to 5 years at minimum. Could even be pushed back a couple more if you really think about it. It's fucking nuts, and it's that type of thing where it's like, this is Microsoft's problem, this instance, but it's like, it's kind of running through its courses through every industry where it's just like, man, it's taking a while. And to kind of also push this point to another angle, the Last of Us remake. I want to push that just because that was talked about when Last of Us Part 2 was coming out. And if people don't remember, that came out in 2020. 2 years ago. There was rumors already about, oh yeah, there was a team working on the remake of the game. Remakes don't take that long. They don't take 2 years to make. Especially for a Last of Us game. Last of Us 1. That game still looks fucking good. Looks great. and it's been 2 years, and nothing. Nothing. Might ship this year. Be great, but took it 2 years, maybe 3 years if it doesn't really get announced. Um, but yeah, it kind of shocks me with these type of delays. We're just kind of seeing this and going, you know, the fuck's going on around here? Like, it makes it kind of want to really peel back behind the scenes of all these industries and kind of go, you know, what the fuck are you guys doing? You know, how messy is your kitchen? You know, how bad is the is behind the seams? You know, you did the clean. You finally scrubbed around here, but look, there might be some brown spots around there. This is kind of the beginning thought that I have right now. You know, it's beginning with Xbox, but it's like kind of hopefully want to continue on further of just like how badly was all of this kind of mismatch and fumbled by. And so, that's kind of where I want to end it off. It's just kind of one of my lingering thoughts that maybe you guys want to continue through, think about, and just kind of run through. Like I said, first episode, just kind of want to go through these big things that I've been just kind of holding in, kind of went through. And then next week, I also want to talk about a couple other stuff that it's on my mind. Some might be recent. I kind of made this one a little bit more recent, but uh, hopefully next week I want to pull some more there in my bag that I want to kind of go through. So, uh, thank you very much for listening. What we're at the 36, 37 minute mark, so hopefully I was able to kind of drown out your day cleaning, doing something, laundry, and you know, see you on the next thing. Beyond the hype.